He's a Hamilton Hall of Famer, a financial advisor, and he's a UD Flyer for life. Norm Grevey, welcome to Lamps Lab. Appreciate you being here.
Hey, thank you, man. This is great. I appreciate you having me on, and this is you're doing great things in Hamilton, and appreciate you getting me on here, brother.
Yes, sir. So, you were born in Hamilton. Uh, Tell me a little bit about your younger years growing up.
Well, I was the youngest of six kids. Um, we had my dad was played at Hamilton Catholic in 1948 and played in the state finals, and so growing up, basketball was the sport we wanted to play. I had a great mom and great brothers and sisters, and obviously my brothers were all athletes in basketball and growing up. So when I grew up, I had the privilege of seeing my older brothers play at Taft, Wilson, and all those competitive battles they had with Roosevelt and Harding and a junior high. And so it was pretty set up for me in that regard. And then obviously my brother Kevin went on to play at Kentucky and had a fabulous career there, and then went on to play 10 years in the NBA for the Bullets and Bucks. And then my brother Brian got a full ride at South Carolina, and and he played until he injured his knee. And then my brother Scott, who's still in the Fairfield area, doctor, dermatologist, he played at Pittsburgh. So they were great role models for me. And so it was kind of teed up, you know. But as you know, to be any kind of athlete, you have to want it. No matter what kind of athleticism you have to want it. And boy, did I want it. I wanted to be better than my dad. I wanted to be better than my brothers. And so uh, the big thing for me was I practiced. I practiced uh, hours on end. And so having that upbringing and then having that work ethic and that desire and that competitive nature, which I got from my mom, uh, really was the catalyst and the DNA for me in my career. So I was lucky to have a great family and brothers and in that situation for me. But as you can't just step on a court and be good. It requires hours of practice and competitive desire, and that's really kind of separated me from many other kids growing up. So that was my upbringing, and it was, luckily it turned out good for me.
Yeah, and your dad, he played at Xavier as well,
Yes, yes,
and
he,
practiced law for about 50 years.
yes,
Uh,
sir.
and
He was a great attorney in town and highly respected. But his upbringing playing at Hamilton Catholic at the time, they had four starters that went on to play at two of them, or two or three played at Xavier. One went to UC, and then I forget the gentleman's name, but the center Holstein went on to play for the Minneapolis Lakers, and they lost to Finley in 1948. And there was back in those days there was double A and A, and they were the first Catholic school to go to the state finals. But we always wanted, even though we went to, people say, why didn't you guys go to Baden? Well, we went to Hamilton, Taft, or Big Blue, because we felt like that was where the competition was. You got to play against Middletown, Fairfield, Princeton. You were playing the best teams in Cincinnati every Friday night. And so my mom and dad wanted us to compete against the best kids in the Southwest Ohio. And by doing that, you went to Taft and then eventually Big Blue.
And like you said, you're the youngest of six and the youngest boy, but you were named after your father. So, kind of how does that work? Normally, it's like the oldest son that's named after him. So, how did you become named after him?
Well, there was my mom had they had 5 children in 7 years, and then I think it was 6 or 7 years later they had time to think about, well, we if we ever have another son, or we'll name him after you. So my dad didn't really want that, but I think after uh, that time between me and the number five, they decided, well, let's do a Norm, you know. So it's a nice carrot. When I go into Hamilton, they always call me Little Norm, but I'm 57 years old.
Right. That's funny. Um, and with the kind of age difference, I guess from all your siblings to you, a lot of times, I guess you might have been kind of like an only child for at times because everybody was gone. Is that right?
Yeah, that's great insight. People don't realize that, you know, when I got into junior high, I was the only one at the house. Um, so on the weekends, we were driving to Chicago to see my brother Kevin play against the Bulls. And on Friday night, we were watching my brother Scott play against, Garfield. So, and when he graduated, it was lonely. And to bide that time, I spent my time on the backyard shooting jump shots. So uh, that's how I passed my time. But yeah, it was neat, but I did miss my family because we were a close group, and but it was very, very good for me to see my family, my brothers play, at the next level. And like I said, that was a huge advantage I had over other people in town or competitively. Uh, having that experience of seeing my brother being around uh, the Bullets, in 1978, I was 11 years old, and they won the world championship. So, and we went to the playoffs. So that was just huge. Seeing these guys, seeing my brother play against Dr. J, um, and you know, it was a big impact for me to dream and to believe that, man, if my brother can do it, I think I can do it.
And as you mentioned, so your brother Brian, he ranks 23rd in scoring in Taft history. Scott fourth in Taft history, and your brother Kevin, the all-time leading scorer in Taft history. And so you was about 6 or 7 when he was drafted to the NBA.
Uh, yeah, I was 7 years old, 1975, and they had just played in the NCAA championship.
Mm,
He graduated as this number two all-time scorer in UK history. And Kentucky, being from Southwest Ohio, Kentucky's a big thing, especially in Kentucky. But yeah, he got picked in the NBA, and I was just 7 years old. Um, and he had just played UCLA in the 1975 NCAA finals, and he had 30, I think 34 in that game. And I was friends. They all treated me like their little brother, his teammates. So it was just huge, unbelievable impact it had on me to have those kind of role models in my life, brothers or teammates. And then he got picked by the Bullets. Uh, so it was an amazing experience growing up. It really was.
So, when did you kind of realize in your own game that, you kind of had that same gift as the rest of the family, even though you worked at it, but, when did you kind of know that, you were like that as well?
I think it started for me when there was a thing called junior pro basketball back in the 70s. Uh, so that started, you were like 10. I think it started when you were like 9 years old, and you played on 8 or 9 foot rims. We played at Fenmont, uh, some building called Fenmont down there by the Dayton Hamilton Library,
Mm.
down by the Monkeys in downtown Hamilton. And it was Hamilton Fairfield Junior Pro, and I was scoring about 30 points a game, as a 10-year-old, and that's when I really knew that I was pretty good. But really, it hit me when I got into the seventh grade when I went to Wilson. Uh, nowadays, people, it's different. But when I was in the seventh grade, I asked Coach Buddy McCollum, who was the coach there in the junior high system at Wilson. I said, I want to play on the eighth grade team, and he says, well, that just doesn't happen here, Norm. You got to play on the seventh grade team. And I said, well, I and this was coming from a kid that's just 13 years old or 12 years old. I said, look, my mom says the only way I'm going to get better is unless I play against better players. And at that time, in the seventh grade, I pretty much uh, dominated, I guess is the word. I don't want to sound bragging, but I thought my mom and me, she said, you go talk to Buddy McCollum and say you want to play on the eighth grade team. And if you don't start, if you don't get the ball, that's my problem. Um, so Coach McCollum said, okay, I'll let you do it, but there's no guarantees. Well, in the eighth grade, we went undefeated, and that was the beginning for me. Uh, Knowing that I was one of the better players in the junior high system in Butler County, I felt like I was the best eighth grader, but I was in the seventh grade, so that's when I knew that I had something going. And then the eighth grade year, I turn eighth grade, I go play for the ninth grade team. And kind of the same thing. I don't know if we won it all or we lost, but I only lost 1 or 2 junior high games.
Mm.
And so when I was in the eighth grade, I got moved up for the ninth grade team. So I actually played 2 years, uh, 2 years of ninth grade basketball, which is unheard of. So then when I was a ninth grader, um, I moved. I got to play finally with guys my own age, and played with Tim Rooking, who was my teammate at Big Blue. We played against Garfield in the city championship and lost. So that was a loss that I always, uh, that's one of the most painful defeats that I had, was to lose my last junior high game. But, I think I was getting 26 points a game my ninth grade year, in only 24-minute game.
Mm.
Um, and I was about 6'1" in the ninth grade. And I went to five-star camp that year. They called it the Development League for rising 10th graders. And um, I got MVP at the camp with guys from all over the country. Back then, five-star was like the Nike camp when you were growing up. And had a great season or a summer. And that whole summer, I played against guys from Baden, Steve Isle. Um, uh, we would go up to Fred Hesse was a coach at Baden. We were Scotty Bowling, myself, Bobby Blaylock. We'd Wayne Byerline. We'd go up to Miami University and play pickup games. We knew a certain time when the Miami players were there. So that was another stepping stone, being able to compete against older guys, college players, high school players, and here I'm just 14 years old. So I knew then going into my sophomore year, and I just knew that the after averaging 26 points in 24 minutes, I knew that this was going to be something pretty good here in high school.
So you spoke of Buddy McCullum. I want to talk about his father for a second, Coach Marv McCullum, that all three of your brothers played for, and a lot of times, you growing up with, that high school coach. How did you feel when you found out he was going to retire and you weren't going to play for him? Was that something that crossed your mind?
Oh yeah, that was a major disappointment. He had some health issues, but he really made my brother a great player, Kevin. He challenged Kevin. He challenged my brother Brian. My brother Brian was a great player and then injured his knee going into his senior year in one of those preview games. Brian averaged 17 as a junior and already had a full ride to South Carolina. So his career never really took off because of the type of surgeries they had back in those days, and he missed his senior year. My brother Scott uh, had a great career at Taft, and Coach McCollum obviously was a very he had no favorites, but if you could put the ball in the basket, you had a special place in his system. Uh, the McCollums had a fantastic, and Larry Allen as well. Buddy and Marv, Larry, they were genius, offensive-minded people. They had an incredible mind of basketball for offense. They ran these crazy four out one ends. They spread the floor like you see nowadays. And this was, 30, 40 years ago. They were 50 years ago. They were doing it. They played high octane. There was no slowdown. We're going to take a good shot. None of that stuff. We're going to take an open shot. And we played fast. And Buddy and Marv, uh, their Marv's track record spoke for himself. He won the '62 state title for Taft. My brother Kevin, they lost in the regional finals to Dunbar, and yeah, it was a dream for me as a young kid to play for Marv McCollum. Everybody in town wanted to play for Coach McCollum, but luckily I got to play against coach play for Buddy. And then, I played against Larry Allen's teams at Garfield. And then when I went into high school, Larry went to, I think, Miami Trace or somewhere up in the Columbus area. So, but it was, yeah, it was a dream. And then my sophomore year, Mo Flagg took over. He was a perennial JV coach for them, uh, great person, coach tennis. And I played for Mo Flagg for 1 year. He's in the Hall of Fame as well.
Hmm.
And but we didn't have a really good year. We went 10-12. I was young. Um, I had a great year statistically. I averaged 20 a game as a sophomore. Um my most memorable moment as a sophomore, was playing against Middletown, who went on to go into state finals, and they had Chris Carter, who was a couple years older than me, and I had 27 on him, and we lost on the last second shot.
Hmm.
Uh, but I had good teammates: Bobby Blaylock, Wayne Barline, Brian Jackson. There was numerous Ronnie Stokes, Steve Davis, but we didn't play really well as a team. I think me being a sophomore, coming right into the loop and being the man was hard for guys to take, and I probably could have been a little more unselfish as a player. Um, I was 6'2" at that time, skinny. Uh, I was all offense. I probably didn't play much defense, but it was a tough year in regards that it was a transition year.
Hmm.
So
So
The following year, yeah, then John Smith came in.
yeah,
So,
so yeah, your junior and senior years, you played for John Smith, and how was it? What type of coach was John Smith for you, and things like that?
well, I didn't know who John Smith was, and he didn't know who any of us were. Um, and so I knew you had to start over and reprove yourself. But Coach Smith, being one of his first really good player and being on his first team was man. I'll tell you, me and him were very close. We became close. We're still close to this day, and he was by far the best coach that outside of Jim O'Brien in college and Don Donner. But John Smith was the best coach that I had. He developed me to become more of a complete player. He wanted me to get rebounds. He wanted me to play better defense. He wanted me to be more of a leader. He goes, anybody, uh, in that year, um, he came in and man, the conditioning and his style of play, amazingly, was very similar to Marv McCollum. He liked to get up and go and press, and that's the way Big Blue played. And we had a fantastic year that year. We were, I think, at one time 8-1, 10th in the state. I had Tim Anderson, who's in the Hall of Fame. He was a junior. Myself was a junior. Um, Tim Rooking. There's some other guys on that team. Donnie Riggins was a sophomore.
Mhm.
Great player, another Hall of Famer. We were a good team. Uh, Dion Broyles was our. Me and Dion Broyles were like fire and ice. We were the backcourt, and Dion was an exceptional high school basketball player. He really developed into his senior year. And then we had a gentleman named Tiny Tipton. Tiny was a pretty good wingman, 6'4", could dribble. We were good. We beat Lima Senior. Lima was a ranked team, but again, I felt like from a leadership standpoint, I probably could have done a little more to keep the team together. Basketball's a long season. You start in October and you're playing all summer. You start in October, and now you're into February, late February. It's a grind, and I think we kind of wore down. And I took that upon my shoulders that not to let that happen again. We lost early in the tournament, and but John Smith did a great job that season, and so now we're heading into the
Yeah,
senior year. The senior year, and
and the end of your junior year, you averaged 24.7. You dropped 42 on Princeton that season, um, and like you said, 15-7, second round exit. And yeah, your senior year, through the first 5 games, you're averaging 30 a game,
yeah,
and the sixth game, what happens in the sixth game?
yeah, it's just I was on a fast break and tried to make a drive left hand, and I stopped real quick to come to like a jump stop, and my left knee kind of buckled, it kind of snapped back in, and felt a pop, and didn't hurt though. That was the the only good thing about it is it didn't hurt. I walked off the court thinking that I'll put an ice bag on and I'll be back in. When you're 18 years old, you're brave, you're fearless. But going into that season, uh, from an individual standpoint, I was really at the peak of my game. Uh, I went to five-star camp and made the five-star all-star game. And there was Rex Chapman was on that team, J.R. Reed, Ramil Robinson, who won the title at Michigan, and he was my teammate at camp, Ramil Robinson. And man, we didn't lose. We won the league, our little league tournament. Coaches all around. and I won the free throw contest there and lost in the finals to J.R. Reed in the one-on-one contest. Um, so, at the time, they didn't really have, video rankings. There was no three-point shots. So, I was probably a quote top 40 player in the country. Going into my sophomore year, I was ranked top 10 in the country. So, I didn't grow as fast as I'd like. I only got to be 6'3",
Mm-hmm.
and I was a string bean, 165 pounds, 6'3" guard. And but I was by far the best shooter at the camp. I always felt like anywhere I went, no one could shoot it like me because I practiced it so much. So when I got into my senior year, um, things were smooth. It was real smooth. We started out 4-2 though. We lost our opener, but we didn't let that defeat us or bother us. And the amazing thing, how good that team was my senior year with Donnie Riggins, Tim Anderson, myself, John Smith as coach, Ray Lawson. I think they only lost one regular season game the rest of the year after I got hurt. I think they finished like 17-4 or 17-5. And when I got hurt, we were 4-2. I don't even know if they lost that many games. They won the GMC without me. Um, and Fairfield at the time was really good. And Princeton was dominant in the area in football. So they'd bring out 6 or 7 football guys, as you remember those days. And at any given night, Princeton could beat you, because they had the best athletes, the strongest guys in the city or in the area, and the fastest. And so in Middletown was just lost Carter. So we knew that we were going to be a very tough out in the state tournament. We talked about it all year. And so when I got hurt, man, it was crushing, very disappointing. Um, I always get emotional when I think
Mm-hmm.
about those days, man. But because I wanted that state title bad for Hamilton, wanted to do that, man. I wanted to do it, and we just didn't get it done. I got hurt, and I wanted to do it for Coach Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, but luckily and fortunately for me, I had a scholarship to the University of Dayton, and I could hang my hat on that and get through the pain. Um, and man, I picked the right school, and but and I played for the Don Donner signed me, and that was the beginning of the rebirth for me as a different kind of player.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't the slashing. I was more of a driver and a shooter second. So after I injured my knee back in, I think it was the summertime before my freshman year at UD, the NCAA announced the 3-point line. And they said, we're going to instill the 3-point line. And Don Donner says, Norm, you got a chance again. You got a chance. Get that knee ready, and we're going to need you. So
Mm-hmm.
I kind of rebuilt myself because it was crushing. uh, it was a very, it was humbling. It was tough. And then I came to UD, and I had a second chance with the 3-point line, and so a lot of positives happened with that.
So yeah, and just to back up a second, you left Hamilton with a career average of 23.2, 1,162 points, which was first all time at the time. Held it for about 7 years, and again, no 3-point line. Kingsbury came along and broke that record with the three, obviously. And you said you went to Dayton. Where else did you consider going before choosing Dayton?
My dream place was to go to Notre Dame, and I went for a visit there. I really loved Dayton, but at the time they were number 2. Uh, I went to a visit to Providence, Rhode Island,
Mm.
Providence College for with Rick Pitino. Um, I had an offer from Iowa State, obviously Xavier and Miami, um, but Ohio State didn't recruit me, and we'll get into that in a sec. I never even got a letter, phone call, acknowledgement, nothing, and so that burned me up. And but yeah, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, I had a lot of good schools. Um, Marquette, Marquette was a good program back then. With Rick Majerus was an assistant coach then, I think. But as the recruiting process goes along, guys commit. Somebody committed in front of me to Notre Dame, Joe Frederick, who was another really good 6'4" guard out of Green Hills. Very good player. I thought we were very comparable. He was maybe a little better athlete. I was a better scorer. Um, Pete Gillen called me and said, "No, I'm sorry. You know, we're going to take Joe. He's going to commit to us." And I understood. That's okay. And then a week, 2 weeks after the phone call, Pete Gillen got the Xavier job. And then Pete calls me and says, "Hey, you're my first guy. I want you big time." But they had Barry Larkin,
Byron, yeah.
Byron Larkin, and man, he was solid. Xavier was just starting to blossom into a powerhouse, or they were. Pete Gillen was unbelievable. I knew him really well at five-star camp, but with all that going on, Dayton really moved into the forefront. They had Channel 7 up here in Dayton. So when I was growing up as a kid, I got to watch the Flyers play, and that was a really great arena there. And they loved their form. They loved their basketball there. It was kind of a hidden gem. And in '84, they went to the Final Eight, and I always thought Dayton was kind of mid-major, but hell, they went to the Final Eight. And the next year, uh, they went to the NCAA and lost to Villanova. So they lost the back-to-back NCAA champions uh, in my sophomore and junior year, and then I realized, they're not mid-major. So I was like, and they at my style of play, being a shooter at that time, they really loved their shooters, and um, so I chose Dayton, and it was the best thing I could have done. Um, but yeah, man, it was really wasn't too much trials and tribulations with the recruiting, but that was kind of what I went through. It was pretty simple. Um, I really liked Miami and Xavier, but they were just too close. And with my dad playing at Xavier, I kind of wanted to go on and be my own guy.
Right. So yeah, you get to Dayton, and in your fourth game, you re-injure your knee. What
Yeah.
happened? What happens there?
Well, for one, back in '86, I had my surgery. That's 14 to 39 years ago. The surgery and techniques weren't great,
Hmm.
and I had zero supervision on my recovery. I came back way too fast. Like I said, I was brave and brash and thought, you think you're invincible, and came back too fast, and it was never right from the beginning. Injured it in the fourth game. I started the second half. I broke through with one really and I knew my leg wasn't right, but I thought, well, as I get stronger, it'll get better. They keep saying, oh, it'll get stronger. Well, I ripped it up bad, and had a couple doctors tell me, Norm, you know, you, it's time to give it up. I went to a doctor in Cincinnati. I went to someone in Hamilton. And so I'm waiting here 2 weeks after the surgery, just wondering, where am I going to go to get this knee done? What am I going to do? But I knew you could come back from it because I saw Kurt Warner, who played at Penn State, and he was playing on the Seahawks, and he was running like a devil. And I knew that if that guy can come back from an ACL injury, I got to find someone that can fix me because once I get fixed, I'll be all right. Well, luckily, I had a guy named Frank Manarino who was the team doctor of Wright State. I got a phone call out of the blue, a cold call. Hey, we'd like to, diagnose you and do your surgery. And he was young. He was only in his 30s, just starting out as a orthopedic, and he had a new technique, and that lasted for about 20 years. And man, I got it done, and from him, and worked like a slave. I mean, worked so hard, man. I mean, it was killer. It was killer, and um, came back and got back on the court. Got back on the court.
And your sophomore year, you started to, like you said, more adopt that 3-point shot because maybe that explosiveness that you had was, kind of waning a little bit. But I want to jump to your junior year with Coach O'Brien also, and
Yeah.
you guys, you start 11-9, and then you win 11 in a row, including the conference tournament. So, what do you kind of remember about that run leading up to the NCAA tournament? That 11 in a row.
Oh, it was incredible. You know, we we had an incredible run. We were 11-9. I had an NBA point guard named Miguel Knight, who was our leader. He averaged 26 a game, 24 a game. Has Hall of Famer at UD, and I was at that time my sophomore year. I came on and started the last 10 games my sophomore year, so I now have confidence. I was just a year or two away from my last injury. Um, we had Anthony Corbett from Dayton, myself, Miguel Knight. We were averaged 90 points a game. Jim O'Brien came from the Rick Pitino system at New York Knicks, and we were one of the leaders in the country in scoring. UNLV won the title that year, but we went on a run, beat Marquette on the road. We were 11-9 and beat Marquette on the road, and we went on to win 11 straight games. Got into the senior night, beat Xavier. Uh, then we have the MCC tournament at our court, and so we know we're on a roll. We're getting 90 points a game. Now, Gary and I were giving up 86. um, but we were running and pressing. We played a brand of basketball that you see nowadays. We opened the floor. We did the 3-point shot. We played drive and kick basketball. We didn't really run an offense. We just a high screen and roll, and we spread the floor. Um, we all developed as players. Miguel Knight obviously had a great college career, but he struggled at times. He was a 6'2", solid 200-pound, 190-pound guard, strong, built like you. And he went on to play in the NBA, and we just followed his lead and got into the NCAA tournament. We won the tournament against Xavier, so we beat them twice in a week with Tyrone Hill and Derek Strong, two NBA players, with Pete Gillen. And that rivalry was huge at the time. And beat them, got the automatic bid. Now we go play Illinois in Texas, Austin, Texas. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Illinois, first round game. They have a good team out of the Big Ten, and it's a good game. And late in the first half, you get a steal, and you're heading in for a layup. And what happens there?
Well, I go in for a layup, and out of the blue comes Stephen Bardo,
Hmm.
who I knew from camp. We were the same age, but I was a junior from Redshirt. Took me out on a layup, hard foul.
In a hurry, too, I mean. There's your pressure. Here's Grevey. Bardo between. Oh, whoa! Oh, he's hurt. He is hurt. You can tell Barlow did not really intend to undercut him like that. He was the first to try to help him up, but he really eject Grevey. Jim O'Brien, of course, out to make sure.
Boy, he gets right in Steve Bardo's face. He got right in Bardo's face. Watch this again. Grevey takes a peek and sees Bardo coming. And actually got him with a hip and then across the face. And that's about as intentional of a foul as you could get. That is about as intentional of a foul as you can get.
And man, I landed just on that one spot on your back, and it sounds like I got hurt all the time. I really only got hurt 3 times, two knee injuries, and landed on my back. And but luckily we played well enough. We had a lead and held the lead. They had Kendall Gill too, who became a legend in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
So there was 3 NBA players on that court, and we were fortunate enough to beat Illinois. The year before, they got to the Final Four, and they had a rough. The Big Ten was physical. I could tell just by playing them, and you, as you know, and playing in your career, that it was a lot more physical. There was banging going through the cutting. You're getting bumped, and like, wow, I didn't get bumped all year long. So as we went on to win that game, and now we play, and I didn't hold any hard feelings. It was just basketball. But we won. I didn't get to shoot the free throws, and we won by 2, and my teammate made the 2 free throws, and that was kind of the difference in the game. And so that was on a Friday night. Now we play Arkansas, the Razorbacks, which was 40 minutes of true hell. And Nolan Richardson was a phenomenal coach. They had Oliver Miller, Todd Day, Melvin Newbern. They had 3 NBA guys on that team. Ron Houry, but Todd Day was their star, and close game. And unfortunately, we couldn't find someone to hit a shot late, and that was a painful loss, not being able to be on that court. We lost our depth, with me being out. My junior year, I averaged 10 a game that season, and on 4 or 5 shots. I led the team in field goal shooting that year as a 6'3" guard, and which was a rarity. Usually it's your 6'10" center shooting 2-foot dunks.
Mm-hmm.
So we struggled down the stretch in that game, but it was a fabulous run. The city of Dayton embraced us, and the crowds were crazy, and we kind of turned the program around at the time because we had a couple losing seasons going into that year, and we all had trials and tribulations on the court, and but Arkansas was by far the better team. But I think if I played, it could have been a crazy finish.
Mm-hmm.
And it really made our careers being able to play in the NCAA tournament. That was by far the biggest thrill of my career outside of getting to the NCAA tournament, beating Xavier in the tournament, but beating Illinois, getting a win as a college athlete in the NCAA tournament is something that I'll always cherish. And the UD fans, like other programs, they love their teams that make those runs, and so we're etched in history in UD basketball as the highest scoring team ever at UD, and we had one of the longest win streaks when no one expected it.
And your final year didn't have as good of a season as the year prior, but I want to talk about a situation where you guys went to Peoria, Illinois to play Bradley, and apparently you guys had some plane issues, pretty scary flight over there, and you end up playing Bradley and playing in their practice uniforms because you
Yes.
didn't bring the equipment along, and but that didn't seem to affect you that game. Tell me what happened in that game against Bradley.
Well, we landed in a snowstorm. We left O'Hare, and they left our uniforms back. And in that uniforms were some of our shoes. Half the guys had their shoes, so I didn't have my basketball shoes. Or the only thing I carried when I traveled was my contacts. I made sure they were on me all the time.
Mhm.
That way, if I had something happen, I could. It didn't make a difference. Just find me some shoes, I'll be able to play. But without contacts, you ain't playing.
Yeah.
So it didn't bother me at all. It was an afternoon game, and Bradley was a very high scoring team. Stan Alback was your coach, who coached the Spurs back when my brother played. So, I kind of knew who he was. And out of the blue, um, I had I was 2 for 7 in the first half. And going back in the preseason, I did make 9 threes in an exhibition game. So I knew that I could do this. And so at halftime, coach, he never got on me about shooting. And he's like, Norm, we need you, man. You're wide open. They were playing zone, and I was missing some open shots. So I just kind of regathered yourself like you do at halftime, start over. I'm going to get going. And out of the blue, I hit 7 to 9 in the second half, and it was a very high paced game, and went 9 for 17 from three, and we won on the road. And lo and behold, 38 years later, uh, you know, it's still the record still stands.
Yeah,
So
93.
there's no one happier about it than me. So that was my claim to fame here at Dayton.
Hmm.
Was that 9 3 pointers, and it kind of, looking back, all the hard work that you put in, and the setbacks, is something that being able to play in the NCAA tournament, get a win, and set a UD record that still stands is something that I'll never forget and always cherish.
Definitely. And you averaged 12.3 points as a senior. Ended up losing to Xavier in the conference tournament. And what I found searching that was Xavier had a player by the name of Tyrese Walker on the team. Wasn't playing much at that time, but another Hamilton guy. And what did you think about that kind of uh, two Hamilton guys coming together on the same court on that level?
Uh, it was great. I've had great respect for Tyrese, by far one of the best players to ever play at Big Blue. He was younger. I was 4 years ahead of him at that time. My career ended in that game against Xavier, but you know, nothing made me happier to see Tyrese do well and represent Hamilton along with Chris Kingsbury and yourself down the road. Um, we all played for John Smith. It was a brotherhood, and Tyrese is such a class guy. Um, I had no ill wills, um, and I knew that he was going to develop once some of those guys graduated. Brian Grant was on that team. That was a really good basketball team. He was on, I think, as a freshman, and they beat us. But it was a good senior year for me to get 12 points a game after everything I went through. Um, we lost. I was one of the only two seniors that returned. We brought in Chip Jones, who was my teammate that year from Woodward, and Derek Dukes, uh, really good players, but they were young and kind of inexperienced at that levels. And but Derek was a great player, and but it was great. It was pretty neat thinking back. Uh, Finally getting to play against someone from Big Blue, and Tyrese was the man. And he's got the plaque up there, Mr. Basketball.
Hmm.
Um, well earned, well earned.
And you scored 875 points in your dating career, uh, 7.7 average for a career. And so after college, did you ever think about the professional route, maybe overseas or anything, or were you done at that point?
I was done at that point, and I think I had put myself, like I said, I had accomplished everything I wanted to do. It was just to get into the NCAA tournament and get back on the court. And I had some really good success beyond that with the 3-point record and stuff. So I was satisfied. Wanted to get into business. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Um, Out of the blue, I interviewed with various people, Champion Papers in Hamilton. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in sales. I didn't want to be an attorney like my dad. I did at a younger age, but I wanted to just do something on my own. And financial services, got hired by Shearson Lehman Brothers, which is now Morgan Stanley. And I was there 13 years, had a very good career there, and transitioned now to my own practice here in Springboro, Ohio, called Sheeler Financial Group, based out of Union Center. And we have a Dayton office, which is my office, and then Union Center is Sheeler Financial Group with Rick Sheeler. Got a great team. It's a great wealth management firm. We handle uh, clients from the Butler County, Warren County, Dayton, really from the river, from Cincinnati, the Ohio River to Dayton is our market.
Mhm.
And I've been doing this for 34 years now. And in addition, I got married to my wife, Angie. We've been married 27 years, and I've got three great kids, Connor, Chase, who's in at UD now, and my daughter, Katie, who cheered at Dayton. She graduated at Dayton. So I kind of forced them to become a flyer as well.
Yeah.
And but they're all doing well, and I'm really thankful, that I've got a great wife and great kids, and I have a great career in investments. So, I've been very fortunate, and I have great clients, and in sales, any sales, you got to be a people person, and I love people. And I think that's what separated me to have success in this business is I enjoy helping people. It gives you comfort, whether it's law or whether it's coaching. It's just become a passion. It wasn't a passion at the start, but it is now, and I love what I do.
And you, Butler County Hall of Famer, Hamilton City School District Hall of Famer. Um, what did those honors mean to you?
Oh, so much. Hamilton, as I said, as we talked earlier, has been so much to my family's roots and DNA. And being part of Hamilton City Schools, had great teachers, great memories, great friends. And then becoming a member of Butler County Hall of Fame is pretty special too. With Joe Knoxall in there, my brother Kevin in there, the Carters. It's a historic county Hall of Fame, maybe one of the best in many states, let alone Ohio, with the athletes that's come through Middletown and Hamilton and Fairfield. Um, that to me was probably my biggest honor was getting into the Butler County Hall of Fame and being with so many great. Tyrese obviously is in there, Kingsbury. Um, it's special. John Smith, Larry Allen. I can go on. Hamilton is embedded in the Butler County Hall of Fame, and it's a great, great honor. You don't think about it as a player, but as I got older, I was like, man, I'd like to be in there, you know, and
Yeah.
I got in. So, but, very appreciative of the people that helped us, whether it was the McCollums, Larry Allen, instrumental in our careers, John Smith. Those people will I'll remember forever.
So in 2004, Hamilton basketball, finally captured a state championship after 50 years. I wondered if you followed that season and kind of what you thought about it.
I did follow that season. I went to see you guys play at the arena. I think you guys played Brian Roberts.
That's where I was going next.
Yeah, man. And he's uh, great player. Went on to play in the NBA. I don't think anybody knew that he was going to be that good,
Mm,
but I don't know if anybody thought that you guys were going to be state champions to start the year.
yeah.
But I do remember your team, uh, Billy Allen. I used to work out with Billy when he was in junior high. Larry, I'd come down and work out at the gym with him, and so I knew Billy had a lot of potential. And then I think there was some other guys, the player that went to Tennessee for you guys,
Adam
uh,
Myers White. Yeah.
Adam Myers White. I remember him. What an athlete!
Hmm.
And I just think that your team um, maybe the I don't know how to say it, but you obviously had a connection with all you guys.
Hmm.
Uh, I was thinking just watching basketball the other day. Talent can get you so much, can get you so, but being a team can take you to the next level. And I think you guys had that, along with a good mind in Larry Allen, and a very good point guard that could run the show, unselfish like yourself. Uh, you were a phenomenal defensive player, and I know you had a great career. Was it at Ball State?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I followed you guys. I know uh, I was kind of away from basketball at the time, and in 2004 is when I kind of got back into following high school basketball, to be honest. And I know it was I know how thrilled you guys are, but the city of Hamilton and along with former players, we have just a tremendous pride for you guys for what you did. And to me, it's amazing looking at that now, 21 years later,
Mm,
um, and to see where the GMC is at now. Um, it, it, to me, just the city of Hamilton beating teams from Cleveland, and you know what I mean.
mm,
Um, it doesn't seem real, but it happened, and again, it's an amazing accomplishment and story for you guys. Really is.
And around 2011, you wanted to get into coaching, and I wonder why you wanted to get into coaching. And tell me about joining up at Middletown with Josh Andrews and Coach Allen and coaching there.
Yeah, that kind of happened fast. My kids were into basketball, and I had some time. And Larry, out of the blue, I was coaching the youth teams up here, and like all dads do. And Larry was like, Josh Andrews just got the job at Middletown, and I knew Josh what he did at Princeton. I had never met him individually yet, and Larry's like, I'm going to take the job. Larry says, I'm going to be the assistant coach. You ought to talk to him if you want to get in. We'd love to have you. And I went home and thought about it for like 5 seconds. And I was like, man, that's a no-brainer. I'd love to do that. And I didn't want to have any career in coaching, but I did think it through for about 5 seconds and called Josh. And we met, and he told me who was on that team. And it was amazingly the year before I went to the Big Blue game at Middletown. I forget who was on Big Blue's team at the time, but I went to that game, and in Middletown had Giovanni McKnight, who was just really good, man.
Mm,
Just good. Just I don't know how to describe it, but he could play, and I knew he was Division 1, and I thought, well, this is one chance. You get a chance to give back for a couple seasons, and then they had Vince Edwards, and I thought this is right at my cup of tea. I can help a couple guys that are gonna play at the college level. I can be that confidant, that guy in the locker room or on the practice court that can kind of give them some pointers because I had been through that,
mhm,
and I think I guided them well. But Larry was our defensive coach, and Josh was our head coach, and I was kind of our player development guy. Um, it was a great experience. And that year, we surprisingly went 20-4, won the GMC, and beat Moeller, who beat us by 40 during the regular season and beat us by 60 at the UD Arena at team camp. And we ended up beating Moeller, who had 3 or 4 Division I guys on that team. And then we faced, that was at Cintas, and then we faced Fairfield. And I don't know how we lost that game.
I was at that game.
Yeah. They brought in a shooter off the bench. They brought in some poor man's Norm Grevey, and it hit 4 threes and beat us. But Fairfield athletically was not scared of us. And I think that was a big difference. I think Coach Austin was a great coach as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a bunch of football guys like the Princeton days when we grew up that could beat you on any night. And they were not intimidated of Middletown, and they won the game. Vince Edwards, I think, went 2 of 15 or 2 of 13. Had probably one of his more subpar games of his career. And Giovanni McKnight had like 35 points or something crazy, and almost banked one in to win the game. That loss is one of the hardest losses that I've ever experienced by far. I mean, we wanted to get to Columbus, and but what a thrill! And those guys were just such good players. Vince had a great career, and Giovanni, to be part of their success is something I'll always cherish. And coaching with Larry and uh, Josh, 2 Hamilton guys. We had 3 Hamilton players, 3 players coaching Middletown, which is just absolute craziness.
Yeah.
But I always had great respect of Middletown. Mm-hmm. Even though I wanted to beat them and they didn't like us and we didn't like them, I always had respect for their athletes and never had a negative vibe like you would with Princeton or Middletown or some other school. I always loved, I would, you thought weeks in advance playing Middletown back in the day. And I felt like at home. It didn't bother me, and I think the people accepted us, and the players accepted us, and it was a great experience. Great experience.
And as we wrap up here, you just had a knee replacement last week, as you mentioned. Just so how's that process going, and all of those things?
Well, after 4 years of that ACL, now I got my knee replacement, and I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for asking. I had surgery about a week ago, and I'm doing pretty good. I made it to work today, so it's good being young to have that type of operation. And but over the last 10 years, I had pains and arthritic pain, and I couldn't run. I used to play with Giovanni and those guys. And I was 45, still playing pickup with those guys at practice, but those days were long gone after that. And, it was hurting me to even golf. So I got it done, and I'm glad I got it done. But it's very painful type of surgery for sure.
Right. Well, glad you're doing well. And, Norm Grevey, one of the better players, to play at Hamilton. Definitely heard a lot of stories about you over the years, and so I've been hearing about you. From
yeah. Well, I knew your last name when you came up. Highly athletic crew, and I'm proud of you at your success at what you're doing with your podcasts and sports radio, or sports podcasting and giving back to the community. And it's great to be part of your program.
I appreciate it. Well, yeah,
Thank,
thanks for joining me, man, and we'll
thank you.
definitely catch up.
I
And
want to
make
catch up, and I want to get to a game this year at the Blue.
yes, sir. All
And
right.
thank you, man.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
everything.